Today's Ask Me Anything goes out to Jarek, who says, "Don't get me wrong, but what do you think about countries that outlawed prong collars? New Zealand, Austria, Australia, Switzerland, Quebec, and many others that have made prong collars illegal. How do they train their dogs? In Poland, government also planned to ban them. I don't know how my family members could walk our 1.5-year-old Labrador without it." So let me speak for a moment about my feelings about countries that do such things. First of all, they're caving to a knee-jerk reaction by animal rights people who have all the best intentions, but none of the knowledge to understand how a prong collar or an e-collar or an aversive tool can actually help a dog. They see these tools as merely a torture device that can only harm a dog. That being completely incorrect, because used properly, these tools can be very, very beneficial for dogs that need a different training tool than a regular treat and a regular lure or a regular clicker. Now, when we need these tools, they're very necessary, because when they are needed, the dogs oftentimes will not respond to anything else. If they respond to another methodology, I think that's great. But by initiating these kind of laws, these countries are at their own hands, with their own hands, by this decision, are killing thousands of dogs that will never be able to be trained without those tools. I've gone through this over and over again, that if a dog needs a prong collar, if we've determined that that is the only way we'll be able to communicate with that dog in that drive, in that situation, and in that circumstance, we must have that tool available to us. So these countries, and I'll call them out here: New Zealand, which I think is a beautiful country, never been, but I've wanted to go; Austria, Australia, Switzerland, which I have been to, and Quebec. You are single-handedly signing the death certificate for dogs that will not be able to be trained without these aversives used. You're responsible for these dogs' deaths. You are the person, you are the country, whoever enacted these laws. May the blood of these animals lie upon your soul forever, because you are not saving dogs. I have no problem punishing someone who's using any tool, whether that is a prong collar, an e-collar, or just a regular slip lead. If you're using those tools in an inhumane way, I have zero problem going after you and prosecuting you. Remember, how many times do you see somebody kicking a dog? Shoes aren't illegal and legs aren't illegal, but that is an extremely aversive treatment for a dog. A prong collar is a very useful tool used correctly. But again, as I said, used incorrectly, it can be inhumane, but so can your legs, your hands, a leash, anything. A stick off of a tree can be used to be aversive, but they're not illegal. We're simply trying to placate people by saying, okay, we're going to make this tool illegal because we've seen it used incorrectly. Just because a tool is used incorrectly does not make that tool inhumane. It makes the person using the tool inhumane. Why don't we go after the people who are using the tools incorrectly as opposed to the tool? For example, drunk driving kills a lot of people. It's a horrible, terrible thing. But nobody is illegalizing cars. They're simply illegalizing the alcohol. So it's the act that we're trying to illegalize, not the tool. So therefore, get to the people who are doing the incorrect behaviors, the abusive behaviors, the inhumane behaviors, and prosecute them. But do not go after the tool that can be used to save a dog's life, to change their behavior for the better, and makes owning a dog that might otherwise not be able to be owned by an average person possible. Those dogs will end up in shelters. Shelters will fill up. Once those shelters are full, they will not be able to take other dogs that really need help in a shelter for a temporary time. And therefore, those dogs suffer, languish, and die. Whatever you can do, write to your representatives, vote, make your voice heard that these tools are an important tool to save the dogs that will not be saved in any other way. No positive only trainer will be able to handle these dogs. They already can't. That's why we're reverting to using a tool that will help them in a humane way. Long-winded answer. Hope it helps you. Robert, when you start habituating a dog to a prong collar, do you start with the dead ring? I've seen people saying they always use the dead ring, others saying they always use the live ring. and others who say they start with a dead ring and progress to the live ring. So I'm confused. What's your take? Excellent question. And again, you've come to the right place, Yair, because I'm going to answer this for you simply. First of all, let me clarify what a dead ring is on a prong collar. It's very different. On a choke chain, the dead ring is the ring that is at the end, the ring that doesn't move when you pull on the choke chain. Now, on a prong collar, the dead ring is using both rings as opposed to one ring. No matter which ring you use on a standard everyday prong collar, you're using a live ring because you're pulling and the collar is contracting on your pull. A dead ring does not contract the collar, it simply pulls the collar in without the contraction, making it smaller. So using the dead ring on a prong collar is using both rings, and the live ring is using just simply one of those rings. It's a personal preference. I personally always use a live ring because I want the consistency in the dog to see what's going to happen. Now, really importantly, I want to always preface the dog's experience on the prong collar by teaching the dog leash pressure on the prong. I have videos on that. I suggest strongly that you watch them before you start correcting dogs on prong collars or even working or walking a dog on a prong collar. Get yourself some information that will really help you, and you'll see that it's a very fair tool. Used correctly, it's probably one of the more humane tools that's out there to communicate with your dog exactly what you want your dog to do in a very, very fair way. What is your thought on tiny dogs with harnesses? My puppy is 6 pounds and his neck is super thin. I tried with a regular collar, but I cannot bring myself to pull. And Sabrina, in this situation, you are absolutely correct. Again, I'm against harnesses on larger dogs who are pullers, okay? Harnesses are great tools for dogs that we want to pull. For example, an agitation harness in protection dog sports, a mushing harness for a dog who we want to pull. Anytime we want a dog to pull, it's a great tool for a larger dog. Now, I always say, in addition to my disdain for harnesses on dogs who pull, I have a use for harnesses on dogs who have maybe a cervical injury, a neck injury, or a very small dog. Janet has walked Bosman on a regular, beautiful harness for almost his entire life, and it worked very well. When you have a very small dog, it's not fair to put a slip lead or anything on the dog's neck because you might pull too hard, you might catch yourself not paying attention, and you could do some damage to this little tiny dog, especially what you're dealing here is a 6-pound dog. Remember, a 6-pound dog is not, and I'm not saying this in any derogatory way, so no hate email on this one, they're not real dogs. They're manufactured lap dogs that have been created so that the dog can play and sit in your lap, and it was really kind of created Frankenstein-wise to give you a dog that you can really enjoy that doesn't really have the same kind of characteristics that a big dog has, like a dog that's going to be heavy puller or be dangerous if it does get out and try to do some damage to a crazy Rottweiler or something like that. Okay, anyway, that's my advice to you. Yes, use a harness. I think it's a great idea. And if you have any other questions, check out my website at robertcabral.com for all the best online dog training resources available anywhere.